Hello everyone and welcome back to Across the NFL here on Huddle Breakdown. Today we will break down last week's game against the Detroit Lions, look ahead to next week against the Chargers. We'll break down some scores from week 6 as well as week 7 because that's our bye week, and see if we make any trades going into the bye week. We will start here with the first turnover of the game. It's an interception. I'm just looking for the slant here, DJ Chark. And this linebacker here drops back into zone coverage, which I didn't read. I thought it was man at first. And it's an easy interception, as there was multiple interceptions on the day. Here is an inaccurate pass from Gardner Minshew. We're seeing that a little bit more, and that is concerning. He's going to have to clean that up if he wants to keep the starting job. Here's a bunch set, an all-out blitz. We don't have enough to protect. I don't look Chris Thompson. I'm looking bunch side first, as there is going to be a free blitzer coming down here for the easy sack, as there was just too many blitzing for our line to cover, and this one was actually returned for a touchdown. Here a little later in the second half, this one's a killer. This one right at the end, trying to dig out of the hole. It's a beautiful throw here by Gardner Minshew, but there is a hold up here in the offensive line. And here you see the flag is thrown. So instead of having it 1st and 10 across the 40 with 2 timeouts, you can get something going. Instead of that, the flag and backed us up, and we just had to surrender there in the end of the first half. Here is another inaccurate pass by Gardner Minshew on the double play fake. It got Chark open a couple steps. Just an inaccurate pass. Here later, another sack. It was killer for us. There was a slant open across the middle if I had enough time to throw it. He wasn't open here just yet. I needed to wait for him to clear, and right about the time where I could have thrown it, but also this guy's got to clear here too, because Gardner really, the game in Madden, you can't really just sit him down here. In real life you probably could, but I got to wait for him to clear that again, and then the sack comes. And that would have been a touchdown, a walk-in touchdown there for Laviska Shenault. Here later in the fourth quarter, this is a jump ball to the end zone and a tremendous grab by DJ Chark. Minshew almost overthrew him again, but that time it's caught for the touchdown. Here is another play, and this one just a sack that leads to the throwing out of the sack motion, and this was early on in the Madden game, so it was very inaccurate then. I still think that I like that it is inaccurate like that. It just kind of waddles up in there in between the two, and an easy interception. And then the final play here in the game, jump ball at the end, just trying to get something going for us. Really, there turns out to be almost 4 defenders in the area, and one of them gets the tip and the interception. We'll now take a look at some stats and scores across the NFL. We'll start in Buffalo, where the Bills lose 35-14 to Kansas City. Mahomes now playing back like an MVP, 4 touchdowns, throwing 2 to McCole Hardman. Josh Allen, a touchdown and an interception, but KC scored 21 unanswered in the fourth quarter to get the 35-14 win, and a big win as the Chiefs now have their second win on the season. In Indianapolis, where the Colts lose to the undefeated Bengals, who now go to 6-0, the Bengals win 24-21. Phillip Rivers played good, 2 touchdowns, no picks. On the other side, Joe Burrow, he struggled actually. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but the Bengals were still able to get the win 24-21. Up in Minnesota, where the Vikings win big 42-21 to the Falcons, but some wild stats across the board for the quarterbacks. We'll first look at Matt Ryan. 3 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions on the day. On the other side, Kirk Cousins, 2 touchdowns, but he doesn't get past the 100-yard mark, just 84 passing yards on the day. The Vikings, After starting 0-1, now 5-0 in their next 5 games, they win 42-21. The Giants win 35-17 to the Washington football team. Daniel Jones, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But some struggles for Washington. There you see a turnover for Dwayne Haskins. Kicker Dustin Hopkins goes 1 for 4 on field goals. One bright spot for their team over this 4-game skid, particularly in the last 2 games. Steven Sims, his stats are this: 16 catches, 261 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Some great stats for Sims there. But the Washington football team lose 35-17. In Carolina, where the Panthers defeat the Bears 10-0. Chicago has now scored 0 points in 2 straight weeks, and the only points scored in this game happened in the second quarter, where Bridgewater threw a touchdown. Jimmy Graham for the Bears did crack 100 yards, but an interception from Mitch Trubisky, and the Bears lose again 10-0. In Philadelphia, where the Eagles squeak out a win against the Ravens 20-17. Lamar Jackson, 2 touchdowns, 1 to Marquise Brown. Carson Wentz, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But Miles Sanders had a touchdown, and somehow, despite those 2 turnovers who he threw to Queen and Humphrey, the Eagles were able to get the win. In Tennessee, where the Titans have now lost 5 straight, including a loss to Jacksonville, they lose 38-24. Deshaun Watson throws for 2 touchdowns. He threw those to Kenny Stills. Ryan Tannehill, 3 touchdowns, but did have an interception. And the Titans lose again. Texans win. They now go to 3-3 on the year. They win 38-24. In Pittsburgh, where the Steelers lose their first game on the season, 34-28. Big Ben, 4 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. Juju Smith-Schuster caught 3 of Ben's 4 touchdowns. For the Browns, Baker Mayfield threw 3 touchdowns. The Steelers outscored the Browns 21-7 in the 4th quarter, but the Browns score a touchdown in overtime as the Steelers now lose their first game, and the Browns get a big win to tie the record of the Steelers, but now will have the head-to-head tiebreaker and hold first place in the AFC North as they win 34-28. In Denver, where the Broncos score big 49-7 to the Dolphins. After a win last week, Tua doesn't break the 100-yard mark. On the other side, Colin Kaepernick had a good day with a touchdown thrown to Cortland Sutton, and Denver gets 2 wins on the year now. They win 49-7. In Los Angeles, where the Chargers get a win 34-20 against the Jets. Sam Darnold, 2 touchdowns, but he was sacked 2 times by Bosa. Herbert threw 2 touchdowns. The Chargers get a 34-20 win. In Tampa Bay, where the Packers, coming off their bye, destroy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 58-17. Rodgers threw for 5 touchdowns on the day, and Brady threw for 5 interceptions. He's never thrown more than 4. He's thrown 4 interceptions 6 times. He now has thrown 5 interceptions in this game, as he threw 2 to Shannon Sullivan, 1 to Christian Kirksey, 1 to Jair Alexander, and 1 to Kevin King. Tampa Bay loses big, 58-17. That's their first loss on the season. The Rams now have won 3 straight. They win 35-10 against their rival 49ers. Jared Goff, 4 touchdowns, throwing 2 to Tyler Higbee. Garoppolo threw a touchdown, but he got sacked 4 times. Aaron Donald sacked him twice, and the Rams get a 35-10 win. And in the final game in Week 6, Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys get their second win on the year. They win 34-21. Kyler Murray, not a good day. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Dak Prescott did throw for 3 touchdowns. He also had an interception, but the Cowboys stop the losing skid and win 34-21. We finally know the development trait for our standout rookie wide receiver, Laviska Shenault. It's star development, but we feel like we can get that up in the next couple weeks and during his career to get him to a superstar level player. Obviously, last week we decided to trade away Chris Conley, so this week we'll look at the draft class at wide receiver, and it looked to be a pretty good move, as wide receiver is very deep class, especially in the early round in this year's draft class. This is also the last week before the trade deadline, so we will look at our roster and see if there's anyone we want to trade away. Unfortunately, not a lot that we need to. We've actually already made all the moves here with players with 1 year left on their contract. The only player maybe we could try to trade away is DJ Hayden, but we're actually going to try to re-sign him at 30 years old. 2-year contract I would like to sign him to, but he does not like the salary. He likes everything else. Next week we play the Chargers. Derwin James is out for them, their star strong safety. He's their only injured player, but a key one. We'll look across the NFL here quickly at Week 7, as we didn't do the graphics for that. For this week, the Steelers have now lost 2 straight weeks in a row after starting 5-0. They're now 5-2. They lost 31-21 to the Steelers. Another big game, the Packers lose after that blowout game against Tampa Bay. They lose to the Texans, who are now 4-3 and now have a lead on this division. And the final game we want to highlight here today, the Rams win 21-3, but more to the story in Chicago. The Bears have only scored 3 points since Week 5. That's 3 full games. They've scored just 3 points. Mitch Trubisky in a contract year, not good for him. We thank you for watching today's episode of Across the NFL. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the video, and we will see you around at the next Huddle Breakdown.